Hi, I'm Michael McKenzie, and welcome back to Plead Your Case. It's the all-freshman episode here in the fall semester of 2023, and we got a number of things to talk about. The 2024 MLB Hall of Fame ballot was just released, and we're going to talk about who we think gets in and who gets left out. We're also going to talk about what the GOAT Tom Brady said about the NFL being less enjoyable here in 2023, whether we agree with his statement or not. And we'll wrap it up with talking about who the best franchise in NFL history is of all time. Sit back, relax. It's time to plead your case. And welcome back into Plead Your Case, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Michael McKenzie here with you for the all-freshman episode of the fall semester here in 2023. And I am joined by my fellow freshmen here on the panel, Brett Gombita, Joey Chirillo with the nice shades on, a little nice touch with the outfit. And then at the end of the table, Luke Andruscik. It is a pleasure to be here on PYC with you guys. We're going to start off talking about the MLB. The Hall of Fame ballot was recently released. A lot of interesting names, notable names on the ballot. We're going to start with Brett Gombita right to my left. Who do you think gets in 2024?
Well, I have 4 current players that I think are going to get in. We'll start off with Adrian Beltre. I think if you have 3,000 hits anywhere in your career, no matter what era you played in, you deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. But I actually want to highlight 2 players that are veterans of the ballot that I think should not get in, solely because Barry Bonds did not get in, and that is Manny Ramirez and Alex Rodriguez. Although they played on rival teams, they have one thing in common: steroids, and that prevents them, in my opinion, from being let in the Hall of Fame.
I think I'm gonna have to agree with him. I don't know. You were shaking your head. Are you not? You're not onto that?
I'll get to it whenever it's
all
my
right.
turn
All
to
right.
speak.
I think Alex and Manny should not get in solely because Barry Bonds didn't get in. Barry Bonds is 10 times better than they are, and he is.
Alex Rodriguez is up there.
Now he had 2 Hall of Fame careers. Barry Bonds
That's
had
fair.
2 Hall of Fame careers, and Alex and Manny they were part of it, but they didn't really do much, even with the PEDs. So why should they get in the first place? So I think Barry Bonds should be in, and if Barry Bonds gets in, then the other guys can get in. That's fine by me. But if they're on this ballot, Barry Bonds deserves to still be on this ballot.
Your words are blasphemous to the words of baseball. First of all, let's get into the new guys on the ballot. First ballot Hall of Famer, Adrian Beltre. This guy is one of 9 people all time to hit 450 home runs in 3,000 career hits. I mean, one of 9, he's got to be first ballot. That guy's a stud. Now, as you know, some of you may know, some of you may not, you have to get 75% of votes from the baseball writers who induct people every year in order to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Chase Utley and Joe Mauer were 2 guys that stood out to me as new players their first year on the ballot that will make the Hall of Fame eventually, but not this year. They're not first ballot Hall of Fame guys. First ballot Hall of Fame guys recently, Jeter, Rivera, Ortiz, Beltre, he should be. But when we get to the PED guys, I mean, I'm a big Barry Bonds guy. I think Barry Bonds is the GOAT. I believe he should. His 10 years, you get 10 years on the ballot. If you don't get inducted, you're never going to get inducted. His 10th year was in the 2022, following the 2022 season. His time on the ballot is done. He should be a Hall of Famer. He's the GOAT. If you take away the years that he was on steroids, which is 99 to 2007, he's still a 3-time MVP. He was a stud on the Pirates. Was he not a stud on the Pirates?
I don't know. I wasn't alive.
I understand that, but
I wasn't down
there.
there.
Look at the stats. And then you have guys who also use PEDs on the ballot, like Alex Rodriguez. He almost had 700 home runs. How is he not?
Okay, great.
Near
Good
Barry
for
Bonds?
him.
How is he not near Barry Bonds?
He's near, but is nowhere close to what Barry Bonds should be on.
Barry Bonds also admitted that he cheated. Alex Rodriguez tried lying about the fact that he cheated.
I don't remember who said this quote, but I remember whenever the Yankees traded for A-Rod, they were like, the Yankees have the best shortstop in baseball playing third base for them. And Derek Jeter was the first ballot Hall of Famer. Alex Rodriguez is 10 times better than Derek Jeter. Are you kidding me? Come on.
Okay, this is just because you are a Browns fan. Because you're just delusional.
How do we bring
time.
football into this?
Jeter is better than Rodriguez.
We'll get to football later.
Yes, he is.
Not hitting.
The captain is better.
Maybe defensively, but not hitting-wise.
Okay, yeah,
well,
I agree
here's
with
the thing
that.
I would argue with you,
Jeter's
Andruscik. Jeter
he got into the Hall of Fame because he was a hitter. A lot of people argue that he shouldn't have been a first ballot Hall of Famer because his fielding numbers were so atrocious.
Yes,
Jeter was one of the best hitters of all time. So I would say Jeter's
not
a better
down
hitter than
there.
Alex Rodriguez. But what I want to present this idea to you guys. Another player on the ballot this year is Carlos Beltran. He won the 2017 World Series with the Astros in his final season. We all know about the controversy surrounding that Astros team. Do you think he should get in if the Baseball Writers of America determined that his numbers were good enough to get in, or should he be left out because of the cheating scandal he was involved in at the end of his career?
I think he should be let in. He's one of 5 players in MLB history with 400 home runs and 300 stolen bases. I think when any guy has numbers like that, they should be let in, despite whether they cheated or not in the final season of their career. I mean, I still think he had a great career leading up to that point.
I'm going to have to agree. It was his final season, and that's the only time that it really impacted him the most. And I think that you still have like Jose Altuve, who's most likely at this point, the way he's playing, is probably going to get a Hall of Fame ballot. I would not be surprised if he gets in first round. And the way he's been playing and the way he's probably going to continue playing, he could get a first round ballot vote in. I think he'll get on, and if Jose's going to get on there, I think Beltran should as well.
You know, I agree with you guys on this one. Actually, agree with you. So 400 home runs, 300 stolen bases. That's an insane stat. That's amazing. You know, do we even know? I don't remember if they said, was he a part of the scandal? Was he one of the guys listening to the bangs of the trash can?
Well, he was a hitter, obviously, so I would assume that he's definitely in on it.
But like they've said, Altuve wasn't involved in it at all.
Do we believe that, though?
I don't.
Nobody
don't
believes
personally.
that.
I think Altuve cheated.
I think the whole team did.
But
If you're on the team, your reputation's trashed.
Beltran, you know, Beltran, he already got punished by. He was going to take that Mets. He was going to take the manager job for the Mets, and he was not allowed to take it because of the cheating scandal. Let him in the Hall of Fame.
Now, before we end this segment, I agree with Andruscik on the Alex Rodriguez and Manny Ramirez standpoint, as I think PED users should still get into the Hall of Fame because baseball's history is so, it's not a completely clean history, so why not acknowledge that part? But I want to ask you two this. You two said that PED users should still get into the Hall of Fame, but since Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens didn't, that the rest of PED users shouldn't get into the Hall of Fame. Do you think that that's a trend that should still continue, or do you think that there's somewhere along the road where we have to buck that and then allow these players like Barry and Manny and Alex into the Hall of Fame?
I think you change the rules. It's that simple. Let Barry in, let Roger in. Once those two are let in, the rest of them can be let in as well.
I agree. Get rid of that 10-year eligibility. I don't understand why that's a thing. Maybe there's a reason behind it. I just don't get it. I don't like the 10-year eligibility rule because then you also have a lot of other people in baseball, not just players, but you have announcers and managers and owners and just supporters of the game that won't be able to get in. There's Joe Buck, for an instance. He's going to continue being a voice of baseball for some time now. And he was for the World Series, and he will continue to be. But eventually, when he retires, I would love to see him get in the Hall of Fame just because of his announcing skills. And getting into the Hall of Fame would be awesome, enshrining his moments. But if only players are being let in every 10 years, how are you going to put an announcer up there 10 years as well? You can't do that. So I think down the line, I think when our generation starts to become those voters, I think they're going to start to say, you know what, 10-year eligibility, it's kind of stupid. Let's get rid of it. Barry Bonds, welcome into the Hall of Fame, and then everyone else can follow behind.
All right, sounds good. Before we wrap this segment, I just want to give you guys what I put into the Hall of Fame. I'd say Todd Helton gets in if I were to get a vote. Todd Helton, Gary Sheffield, Manny Ramirez, Alex Rodriguez, and Mark Buell. Those would be the 5 guys I would elect to the Hall of Fame if I'm a baseball writer of America. And we know the controversy of that association when it comes to letting people into the Hall of Fame. We'll see if it continues in 2024. We're going to keep things rolling here on Plead Your Case. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back here to the final Pick'em segment of this year's Plead Your Case episodes. I'm going to be your host / moderator, Ethan Spozarski, here today. And for our final battle to see who will head on to the championship to face myself, who better than to have two department icons in the NFL realm step up to the plate today. To my left, Spencer Frattare, Browns fan. To my right, Logan Lepiscopo, Raiders fan. As you can tell, two poverty franchises.
That's
but
enough.
they are here to plead your case.
We're icons,
so
though, so it doesn't
we're
matter.
icons.
while we're up here, gentlemen, per the usual, let's have a clean, fair fight. I'm okay with some stuff below the belt.
Yeah, you mentioned
Make it
moderator.
interesting.
What does that mean? You think we're going to go crazy on each other?
He thinks we're going to jump across
Yeah, I
the desk
think
and
that's what's
fight
gonna
it again.
happen.
I'm hoping that would make the episode a lot cooler. Anyway, let's get right to it. We're jumping right off to Thursday night. The Seattle Seahawks are traveling to Dallas, where the Cowboys have won 13 straight home games. Gentlemen, take it away. We'll start with Logan here.
You know, I don't think this really needs to be anything said. Seattle's just kind of looked flat, both offensively and defensively. You know, you had incredible corners last year. Now this year it seems like they've taken a step back. It's going to be Dallas all the way, no question.
Yeah, not really much debate. Seahawks looked really hot to start, and then, like Logan pretty much mentioned perfectly, they've kind of just disappeared. Dak's been playing well. That defense for Dallas is playing well. Give me the Cowboys as well.
All right, gentlemen, first one, we have an agreement here. Now we'll shift off to the Sunday 1 o'clock slate. Colts will take on the Titans. Two teams having a bit of a bounce up and down year, but still should be a good game. Logan, we'll start with you again.
Yeah, I don't know if good game would be the proper term. I think it's going to end up being like a 17-3 type of game. I'm going to take Indianapolis, though. I just think overall they look like the better team. Yes, they just lost Jonathan Taylor, but Zach Moss was balling out without JT there. So give me the Colts to beat the Titans.
I want to disagree, but I mean, Gardner Minshew has been playing secretly and quietly really well. I mean, he's been leading this Colts offense to things that we didn't really think he would do after AR went out. So with that being said, again, I know we'll have some disagreements, but I got to take the Colts here.
Coming up next, two franchises that are on the complete opposite. They are on the decline this year. It's the Falcons and the Jets. It'll be at MetLife Stadium. This time we're going to start with Spence.
Pretty exciting game here. Man, it's like I said, an exciting game. I think with that being said, I'll go ahead and take the Jets just for the sole reason we just got the Aaron Rodgers news. He's starting to go back into practice. He won't play, but maybe we see a spark from Zach Wilson. He knows Aaron Rodgers is coming back soon. Maybe he's trying to earn a spot to keep the rest of the season. I'll take the Jets in what'll probably be a very ugly game.
You know, as much as I want to have a disagreement this early, I just can't. I know the Falcons had Bijan Robinson actually look good for once. He was used properly for once, but part of me just has more confidence in the Jets stacking the box, stopping the run. Just leave Sauce, DJ Reed one-on-one against whoever. The Falcons, you got Drake London and a bunch of other guys down the depth chart. The Jets should win on their home turf. And like you said, Aaron Rodgers coming back, that's pretty big news.
Alrighty, so our first three games, we got three agreements. Not a lot of bloodshed yet.
We'll have some.
Yeah,
but
there
we'll
will
get
be-
there. I
blood will be
can
shed.
smell it's coming up. We have an interesting upcoming game next. The Detroit Lions coming off a kind of a devastating loss to the Green Bay Packers. Lions will travel out to New Orleans to take on the Saints and Derek Carr and company. So, gentlemen, we're going to start here with the Derek Carr fan club leader, Mr. Lepiscopo.
You know, it's funny you said that because I almost pulled the Derek Carr jersey out for today. I really thought about it, but then I figured the front, everyone just think, oh, Aiden O'Connell, now that he wears 4. So I didn't do that. Busted out the Bo Jackson. I'm going to take the Lions. The loss to the Packers was just a fluke. They should not have lost that game. They came out flat. They're not going to do that against the Saints, and the Saints' offense is not that great. So give me the Lions to win.
Again, there will be a disagreement, but I just can't go against Jared Goff and the Lions. They've looked pretty good all year. Again, I would say a fluke game against the Packers. And to be honest, the Lions really never play well on Thanksgiving anyways. But I think it's the end of the season. For the Lions, who have this young, exciting team, it's really go time for them now. This is a must-win game. Give me the Lions.
Gentlemen, I truly believe this will be the game where we get our first disagreement because it is the Denver Broncos traveling to NRG Stadium to take on the Houston Texans. Broncos are on a 5-game win streak. Obviously, the Texans coming off a loss, but they have been one of the more shocking teams this year, and C.J. Stroud up for definitely Rookie of the Year, potentially MVP. Dan Orlovsky wants him in there. Should he? I don't know. We'll let that talk to the professionals. But for the game, Spencer,
Who wins this
I guess we're not professionals.
No, we're not professionals.
I will go ahead and take the Texans. I do like how well the Broncos have been playing. They had that rough start at the beginning of the year. Sean Payton turned it around on a 5-game win streak. And I'm not just picking the Texans because they just beat the Browns, but I truly believe C.J. Stroud. I think there's no debate he's going to be Rookie of the Year. I don't think anyone's close to him. And I do agree he's somewhere near that MVP conversation. I don't think he's going to win it. But he has been playing so good. You have the young receiver of Tank Dell, who's also been playing so well. We really haven't seen such a good young rookie quarterback wide receiver duo like this in so long. With that being said, give me the Texans.
You know, this game just kept going back and forth me. It was one of the few games I really looked at. You got Offensive Rookie of the Year in C.J. Stroud. I'm just putting the label out there now, like Spencer said. Undisputed, should get that. But I'm going to pick against him. I will have our first disagreement in this one. As much as it sucks as a Raiders fan to pick the Denver Broncos to win, that defense has just really stepped up since that tough loss to Miami, 70-20. That was kind of, I feel like, a kick in the butt to them. Like, hey, we need to turn this ship around really fast. Sean Payton's got a lot on the line with what he did in New Orleans. I think he pulls out a win here on the road.
Gentlemen, our first disagreement. Very happy about it. Love disagreements on this desk. Moving on, the struggling Chargers will be taking on. It's the same. Either way, it describes two struggling teams. Chargers play the Patriots. This one, take it as you will. Logan, we'll start with you.
You know, you're repping them. I think this is a clear-cut pick. Give me the Chargers. Bailey Zappi, Mac Jones, doesn't matter. Both of them suck. Give me the Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, again, not much to say. I'm a big Justin Herbert fan, too. I think with the right coaching next year, hopefully, I think we'll see a firing here or there, but this is an easy choice. Give me the Chargers.
Yeah, if there's one coach who should be fired, should have been fired 30 years ago, is Brandon Staley, in my opinion. But I'm not here to talk about coaching. We're here to talk about games. Now, local is king. We'll get to the local team here. Pittsburgh Steelers are playing. They're going to play host to the Arizona Cardinals. Spence, we'll start with you here.
Look, I'm a Browns fan. I don't care how many Steelers guys are in the back. Congratulations. You have your 400-yard game. There's your round of applause. No one really cares. Goodbye, Canada. I still think Kenny Pickett is mid. And I know Kyler Murray isn't your top 5 quarterback, but I think the people ruling him out and labeling him as bad is just ridiculous. He's still a very good quarterback. He can still make plays when he needs to. With that being said, I know they're in the Steel City. Give me the Cardinals.
Wow.
He was hugging the Steelers. He was fondling the Steelers, and then he just dropped it.
It's not even that. I just thought this was an easy pick game. The offense looks put together for Pittsburgh now. The defense has been stellar all year. We're going to go back-to-back on the disagreements. Give me the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I'm glad someone came today prepared and organized. Clearly, buddy.
I'm a Browns fan.
You are delusional.
We don't prepare, and we're not organized.
Oxygen up in Denver,
Have you watched
buddy.
the Browns this year?
Yeah.
We're not organized.
Hey, buddy. This is I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
He's mad because he's a Steelers fan.
Exactly.
Don't let this fool you. Alrighty, moving on. Dolphins play the Commanders. Shout out to Wyatt Clatterball here. Logan, go with you.
Shout out to him.
Shout out
to the Dolphins. They are easily taking this game. I'm thinking Tyreek might go for 200 against whoever is guarding him. But, yeah, Miami, easy, taking the win.
Yeah, this is an easy one for Miami. We get the labels of Sam Howell leading in passing yards. I mean, that doesn't really matter when you have a record like the Commanders do and you're going against this insane offense that the Dolphins have, Waddle, Hill, Tua. I mean, this is easy. Give me the Dolphins.
All right, gentlemen, 2 disagreements, both coming at the 1 o'clock slate. Very clean fight so far. Would like a little more bloodshed here, but it's okay. It's okay. 4:25 slate. We're moving on. The Carolina Panthers getting over their first game without head coach Frank Reich. Will be traveling down to Tampa Bay with Seth Evans and company as they take on the Buccaneers. This should be an interesting game. Spence, we'll start with you here.
Well, you shouted out Seth Evans. I'm shouting out Will Wilson. Give me the Bucs. I think Baker Mayfield. It sucks. Some of these guys who are playing so well, in terms, Baker is fighting for his position even though he's playing so well just because of how bad the record is. But I truly think the Carolina Panthers, their season's pretty much shot. Bryce Young isn't what we thought he would be. I think this is an easy home game for the Buccaneers.
Easy home game, no doubt about it. Everybody thinks, they cleaned house, no head coach now. Well, interim head coach now. Fired the quarterback coach. It's not going to solve anything. Carolina just simply does not have any talent surrounding Bryce Young, which is going to fall for them to go to 1-11 after losing to the Bucs.
Alrighty, we have an NFC Championship rematch here coming up at the 425 slate. I'm sure this is probably one of, if not the best game of the week. The San Francisco 49ers and Joshua Klingon are heading to Philadelphia to take on Andrew Price and the Philadelphia Eagles. Thought I'd give a shout out to some of our fanboys here in the call department. But 49ers, Eagles, Logan, who you taking?
No, I was really hoping you were going to go to Spencer first on this one.
I was hoping the same thing.
This is 100% the game of the week. No
Yeah.
questions asked. You got the Eagles who just pulled out a tough win in overtime. I'm labeling Jalen Hurts the MVP. I don't care that there's 7 weeks left in the season. He's got the award in my opinion. But he's got a tough task with the 49ers. And I never thought these words would come out of my mouth when looking at this game. But give me Christian McCaffrey.
Wow.
San Francisco 49ers.
All of that for Jalen Hurts, and he picks the Niners?
I mean, you were literally hyping up the Steelers, and then you went, I'm going to take care of something.
That was my best Spencer impression.
All right. It's your turn.
Again, this is without a doubt game of the week. It's the rematch everyone's been waiting for. A lot of the debate last year was, if Purdy stays in, 49ers win. Unfortunately, he gets injured. Eagles go on to win it. I'm going to do the same thing I do every time I pick the Eagles. Shout out to my guy Shane. It's always fly, Eagles fly. Give me the birds.
I like all the shout-outs we're doing today. Very, very happy, very positive here. Also, fun fact
for the Niners.
Fun fact, Brock Purdy learned how to throw left-handed in case this injury ever happened again. I can confirm he did in an interview admit.
Source?
I swear I saw it on professional source. I forget where, but he did learn how to throw left-handed. I did see that. Check it if you want. Now, getting on to a team that is being represented here on the desk. The Cleveland Browns heading out of Cleveland, going to LA, take on the Rams. What's your take here, Mr.?
Well, listen, there's 2 Browns fans at this school. And shout out to Luke Andruscik for giving me the jersey. But one of them is delusional, and one of them is not. I am the non-delusional one. We had a great start to the season, but if you asked me if my hopes were high, I would have told you no. Because look what happened. Watson's out for the year. Myles Garrett is possibly out for the year. I know we still have a pretty good defense, but, I mean, that defense is led by Garrett. You have Amari Cooper, who really can't do much when you have DTR throwing to him. We might see Joe Flacco. I don't even know who's going to play quarterback. It pains me to do it, but in order for me to try to take the win, I'm going to have to take the Rams.
Alrighty. The honesty is respected here.
It is respected here. And for the simple fact that Spencer is a Browns fan and that their quarterback situation is probably the worst thing I've seen since the Jets and Zach Wilson, I'm going to take the LA Rams. I just think if Myles Garrett is out, it's going to be too much for the defense to try and handle Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, and Kyron Williams just came back. He balled out last week. It's going to be a tough task for the Browns, so I'm going to take the Rams as well.
All right, gentlemen, we have 3 differences now. Very nice, very nice. We have now reached our Sunday night football game. It's going to be a really good one. In my opinion, depending how you look at it, it'll be at Lambeau as the Packers play host to Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Taylor Swift as the Chiefs are going to Lambeau Field. We'll start with you, Mr. Lepiscopo.
For the sake of my fantasy football team, I hope Taylor Swift is there so Travis Kelce can have a big game. Since apparently that's the big stat line now, so he only does well when Taylor's there. I don't think this game is going to be a good game. I think the Chiefs are going to walk away with Lambeau with a big win. I think it could be like a 3-possession victory for the Chiefs. They came out flat against the Raiders, but then they proved once again why they are one of the top teams in the AFC. So give me the Chiefs.
I'm cooking up something special over here, Sparky. You ready for this?
I'm so ready. Get me.
Ready for this?
I'm ready. I got my napkin on. I got my bib on. I'm ready to go.
Give me the Packers.
Yeah.
I think they played very well against the Lions, and maybe it was a fluke game. You know what? Who cares? Jordan Love, I've been high on him since the start of the season. He looked real good last week. They have the home crowd behind them. Why not the Cheese County, you know? Give me the Cheeseheads. Give me the Packers.
Yeah.
Shout out Jordan Love. Let's ride.
Alrighty, we have reached now 4 differences. Just a reminder, everyone at home, obviously, the more differences, the more opportunity for you to win. But our Monday night, the final game of the week will be, I also think, again, another good game as Jacksonville will host Cincinnati. Cincinnati coming off a loss. Jacksonville comes off a last-minute clutch win against the Texans. Logan, for the final game, we'll start with you.
I think this one is pretty easy. Battle of the Cats. You're going into Duval County. Give me Duval. Give me the Jags. They're going to take it easy over the Bengals.
And because and this is on me, we also need a score for this game as it is the tiebreaker as
Ooh,
well.
okay.
So
I think Trevor Lawrence in the offense is going to cook up something nice. I'm going with Jags 28, Bengals 3.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
They will not find the end zone.
All right.
Lock it in.
We'll continue with the shout-outs. Shout out Cal Kildo. I'm taking the Jags. Trevor Lawrence has looked pretty good all year, and Joe Burrow probably won't play. And without really Joe Burrow on that Bengals team, it's just, again, with all these quarterback situations, especially really in the AFC North, I mean, it's so hard to pick a team. They are all loaded on offense, but no Joe Burrow. In terms of the score, I think it's going to be a big game in favor of the Jags, but I'll go 28-10. I think the Bengals score at least one petty touchdown.
All right, gentlemen.
That's fair.
Very nice. Very nice. Great job. We have 4 differences. Make sure to tune back in here coming up into next week's episode. As this is the final episode of the semester. We'll give you updates and standings on who's going to be going to the championship. But without a further ado, don't waste any more time. Let's send it over back to our freshman panel for the rest of today's episode.
Piracy is a crime. If you see someone downloading copyrighted material without paying for it, then you should inform the authorities immediately. If you download any copyrighted material from the internet without paying for it, then you should go to jail.
Welcome back into Plead Your Case, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Michael McKenzie, and we're going to get into a little bit of GOAT talk right now. Tom Brady recently went on the air and said, I believe there's a lot of mediocrity in today's NFL, basically stating that it's been a less enjoyable product in 2023. And it's along the lines of something he said last season, that offenses weren't really firing on all cylinders. This year, doubling down on it, saying the mediocrity is in the game. And I believe that there's a little bit of truth to what he's saying, specifically with injuries. Before I kick it here to Joey Chirillo, I just want to highlight some of the players that have suffered either season-ending injuries or missed over a month of time due to injuries. Aaron Rodgers, Nick Chubb, Deshaun Watson, Mark Andrews, Joe Burrow, Kirk Cousins, J.K. Dobbins, Anthony Richardson. Justin Fields missed over a month of time. Kyler Murray missed the first 2 months of play. And Justin Jefferson has missed over a month. He might be coming back in a couple of weeks after the Vikings bye, but still, he's been out for a number of weeks here. Chirillo, do you think there's any truth to what Tom Brady said?
I think there's a tad bit of truth to it. Now, here's my thing. Tom Brady, you're a year, not even a year. You are a year. You're a year and maybe 2 years out of the league. Why you're acting like you're Joe Montana. You've been out for forever, and that you're just watching all of this unfold before your eyes. I think, honestly, a little bit, Brady's just a little bit bored. He's missing the football game, and I don't blame him. He's been in forever. He's the GOAT. So I understand him like missing that little surge of energy he gets when he's on that field and the offensive power he gets. But I think the big thing is the injuries. A lot of the teams, a lot of the starting quarterbacks have been out. The Patriots, Browns, Raiders, Cardinals, Jets, Vikings, Bears, and Bengals have all had quarterback changes this year. All detrimental changes. The Patriots are the most intriguing one because it's like they say Mac Jones is going to start, and then halfway through, maybe not even halfway through, Bailey Zappe's in. And then maybe Bailey Zappe's out, and they put Mac Jones back in. It's confusing as to what they're doing, and I think that's the main issue is the injuries. But another thing is the referees and the contacts and stuff that they're going in through, the flags that are coming out for sometimes unnecessary reasons, sometimes absurd reasons. So I think that's the big thing, and of course the Steelers and their offense just not clicking, and then all of a sudden Matt Canada's gone. Same with the other coaches, McDaniels and Reich just getting fired. They're also offensive style coaches.
Ken Dorsey as well got fired, offensive coordinator for the Bills.
Exactly. So it's stuff like that. A lot of the offensive coaches and coordinators have been fired. And I think that's why is we're now going to see in the coming weeks a reboot in the offenses.
Yeah, I have to agree with what Joey Chirillo just said. Tom Brady, you've been out of the league for 682 days exactly. Why are you talking like you've been out of the league for 10 years and you played in a completely different era? Like you didn't just play in this era 2 years ago. I mean, some of the things I have to agree with. The mediocrity, gonna have to agree with that. I know you guys are big Steelers fans, but Mike Tomlin is the most mediocre head coach of all time. No, I'm not going to say that. That's a little over the top. But listen, Tomlin,
That's fine words.
since he's been the head coach of the Steelers, he has had 3 seasons at 500. He's had 4 seasons where he's only been 1 game over 500. And he hasn't won a playoff game since 2017. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean,
why is he still that coach if he's just mediocre?
I understand that, but it's
How does
also
this
the
get
thing.
about Mike Tomlin?
I'm just
Yeah,
bringing
exactly.
I'm just bringing about the mediocrity in the NFL. And
Speaking of mediocrity,
teams-
there's this team up north called Cleveland that hasn't won a playoff game.
we're
before
below
2020
mediocre, and
since 1990s.
we're below mediocre, and we fire our coaches when they're not performing out.
It's
Well,
because you
here's the
guys
thing.
do it like it's Christmas. You
But-
fire them
yeah,
every year.
But Tom, if we have years like that, I mean, dude, this guy is just continuing.
It's
to
also a
fire.
thing. It's like tradition. Okay, the Steelers are all about. We'll get into this
And
more in the
that's-
next
that's not
segment.
right.
But the thing is the Steelers are all about tradition. But going back to this, I'm going on to the Browns. Nick Chubb having a brutal leg loss against the Steelers in Week 2.
A leg loss.
I meant to say loss, and I mean his leg. But anyways, it was brutal. It's a brutal injury to watch, and it was brutal to see him go through that. But we're hearing good things about him. But that's again, the Browns' offense is mainly set around Nick Chubb and Deshaun Watson, and you guys are missing both of those key players. I understand you have Njoku and Cooper, but they're the ones catching the ball. You got to have somebody throwing the ball or getting the ball somewhere. So the fact that Chubb and Deshaun are out of there, that also gives the struggling offense quote that Brady's giving. It gives truth to what he's
I
saying.
mean, the GOAT is right about struggling offenses. I mean, teams are averaging 21.6 points per game this season, which is the lowest since 2009. Before 2009, though, every year since was lower than 21.6. So it really went from early 2000s, it's about the offensive production that we're getting right now. And then in the 2010s till about 2020, it was high-scoring offenses. Maybe the defenses are just getting better. What do you think about that?
Can I bring up another point that none of you guys have touched on yet? What about the people designing the schedules? The primetime games have been so bad this season. 75% of them have gone under in the over-unders. How much of this do we put on the people that schedule the games?
I mean, you can't really put it on them a lot, but it is something where watchability-wise and like just viewership-wise, it is kind of hard to watch, especially Thursday night games.
Especially when it's
and
the
this
Panthers
Monday
and
night
Bears.
game. Yeah, this past Monday night game was brutal. The Bears winning with no touchdowns.
12-10.
That's crazy, but I mean,
Bad football.
it's brutal to see that stuff. But yeah, I don't know if it's mainly the schedule stuff. I think it's there's a lot of injuries, and then there's a lot of staffing changes. I think that's where you can mainly blame it on. I don't think Brady can really say anything as it's like a new era of struggling offenses. I think it's just the season is a struggling for offenses. But I agree with you saying that defenses are getting better. The Browns are one of the best defenses. The AFC North basically has all great defenses. Browns are good. Steelers are good. Ravens are good when they're healthy. And the Bengals, they're not bad. They're pretty good. So I think it's also where you are in the division. The North is stacked. The NFC South is pretty good. You have stuff like that going around where you have just a bunch of defenses going up against small offenses.
Something that struck me that Brady said, one of the quotes he said was that the development of young players isn't as good as it was back in his day. I would have to firmly disagree with that. I mean, here's a guy, I sound like Chris Collinsworth, I apologize.
Here's a guy.
But, there's a guy in Kansas City named Patrick Mahomes who is talent-wise, physical quarterback-wise, best all-around quarterback I've ever seen play. Tom Brady, he's got the accomplishments. He's a great quarterback. He's the GOAT. I'm not going to deny that. But you have guys, like how good are the quarterbacks now today in the NFL? I mean, how are you going to sit here and say that the development of young players is not as good as it was? Plus, you have receivers that are breaking out every year. Guys drafted in every round, second, third, fourth, they're breaking out because the development is so good. I mean,
I agree. Yeah.
I'm with you.
how are you gonna say that?
What I want to
that
know,
was a
Tom
bad
Brady,
take
is
by
when are
Brady.
you going to join Fox Sports? I want to hear you up in the booth.
I mean, Greg Olson's holding that spot down.
I don't know. I like Greg Olsen.
Greg Olsen did say if he was offered the Panthers head coaching job, he would take it and leave Fox.
Now, before we end this segment, I want to bring up one point myself. The MVP race has felt dull this year, in my opinion.
I agree.
It's felt like a dull race. Jalen Hurts is currently the odds-on favorite to win the MVP. Statistically speaking, he has had 3 consecutive underwhelming games against really good opponents. Specifically, didn't even eclipse 200 yards against the Chiefs, barely eclipsed 200 yards in overtime against the Buffalo Bills. And a lot of his rushing touchdown stats are inflated by that tush push, brotherly shove, whatever you want to call it. I feel like the MVP race is really dull this year, and because that there has been nobody to take the league by storm, have a career-setting year, or really break any records, it has definitely hurt the product a little bit to have nobody to market above everybody else, even though you might be able to say Patrick Mahomes, but even he has had an underwhelming year for his standards. The MVP race, I feel like, is another thing that has contributed to that. But that's going to do it for that segment. We're almost wrapped up here on Plead Your Case. Do not go anywhere. It's time for our final segment here on Plead Your Case. I'm Michael McKenzie alongside my all-freshman panel. And this one may get a little heated. We're going to talk about who the best NFL franchises of all time are, whether it's the Steelers, the Patriots, the Cowboys, the 49ers, the Packers, or if somebody on the end of the desk is going to want to throw in the Browns for some reason. We can go ahead and try to debate that. I'm going to kick it to Luke Andruscik first, but I want to preface this by saying any attempt to claim AAFC championships will not be recognized on this show. Go ahead.
Good.
As much as I would love to claim that the Cleveland Browns are the best franchise of all time with 8, count them, 8 total championships.
All before
Check Pro
1970.
Football Reference. Check Pro Football Reference. They say the Browns have 8 championships. I don't want to hear it. But if we're going to talk about, there's 2 debates you can really have. It's all-time great franchise and Super Bowl era great franchise, like best franchises of the Super Bowl era. And if we're talking all-time, I got to go with the Green Bay Packers, man. They're the 3rd team ever established, and yet playing one of the most amount of games of all time. They're the second. They had the second highest win percentage with over 500 with .571 all time. They win over half of their games, and they played the second most all time. They have the most total championships with 13 total, only 5 above the Browns. Oh, they'll get there someday. And 4 Super Bowls.
Another one.
The Super Bowl trophy is named after one of their former coaches, Vince Lombardi. That just shows the influence that they've had on the league. They have some of the most historic quarterbacks of all time. You know, Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre.
I'm named
Bart
after
Starr.
that guy.
Great. Packers. Football, you think of Packers.
Okay, I can agree with you on that one. Me, I got a top 10 here. Top 10 franchises of all time. Number 1, Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay.
No, it's incorrect.
We'll get into that in a little bit. All right, but I'm going to go over my top 10. Number 1 is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Number 2, San Francisco 49ers. Number 3, Dallas Cowboys. Number 4, I have the Green Bay Packers. I agree with you on that. They're very historic in their past. But as of current, they have been on a little decline lately.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Is this all time or Super Bowl era?
This is all time.
Okay,
everything that you've seen. Number 5, the Patriots. Okay, it's hard to ignore the Brady Belichick era and how they got 6 Super Bowls that quickly. It's hard to ignore. Number 6, you have the Bears. Number 7, the Chiefs. Number 8, the Giants. Number 9, your little Brownies. And number 10, the Raiders. Now, I know the Browns is a little bit of a weird one in there, but I do think that because they, sucked so much, they're a big franchise in the league because they just aren't that good. And now that they're getting better, they're becoming a little more popular of a franchise. People are talking about how they sucked before and how they're good now. And so I think it's important to put them on there. Another team that you could say the same thing for is the Lions, how they had Barry Sanders. I just watched the Bye Bye Barry documentary. It's really cool. If you haven't seen it, I highly suggest it. So I think that's my big thing. But the Steelers, they are the number 1 historically, no matter what era you're talking about. Historically, they're the best. If you say the Packers above them for before the Super Bowl, I can understand that. But the Steelers all time, it has to be.
Favre Gombita, what do you got for us?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I am named after Brett Favre, but I do have the Packers coming in as my third best franchise of all time because above them, I have the two teams with 6 rings. The New England Patriots being number 2, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, of course, number 1. Maybe showing a little bit of hometown bias, but I think a lot of other people from outside of Pittsburgh would agree with me. I myself made a top 5 list. At the number 4 spot, I had the Cowboys, and at the number 5 spot, I had the 49ers. Would have these teams higher, but neither of them have won a Super Bowl in 30 years.
I mean, it sounds like a lot of bias over here.
So, okay, here's my thing with the bias, all right?
I said, all time, you got to go Packers. Super Bowl era, taking the Patriots.
All right, I understand you taking the Patriots, but here's my thing. In the Super Bowl era, who's the first to get to 6?
I mean, the Steelers?
The Steelers,
So
exactly.
Well,
The Steelers were the first one to get to 6.
What have they done since then?
They
They've
have,
had 3
what,
games.
3 Hall of Fame coaches, Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and Mike Tomlin. The Patriots only have 1 in Bill Belichick. You've done it with 1 quarterback, Tom Brady. It's very impressive. Don't get me wrong. It's been 20 years. Before Belichick and Brady were there, tell me, when did you know the Patriots?
I mean, I wasn't alive. before
Exactly.
Brady was
Ask
playing.
anybody else. Ask your dad. Ask my dad. Ask Professor Krause. He would say, I didn't know who the Patriots were before Belichick and Brady. It's a fact. It's that simple. You didn't know who they were before they got there.
I wasn't
It is
alive.
impressive. Doesn't matter.
I got
It's
2 other teams
impressive.
ahead of
I
the
do
Steelers.
agree. It is impressive that they got to 6 that quickly.
I got one of
and
those
I
teams.
will give them their props. But the Niners, they were a great team. They had the Hall of Fame wide receiver, probably the GOAT wide receiver in Jerry Rice, and maybe the second GOAT quarterback in Joe Montana. Now, that's an argument there, and I don't really...
We're not getting into that.
It's not a big deal to me. I don't care. Tom Brady is the GOAT. You can't argue that. But then you have the Cowboys. That 90s team, probably one of the best NFL teams ever, besides the 72 Dolphins and the Steel Curtain Steelers. That's my guess. That's my vote there.
It's fair.
So that's why I put the Steelers up front. You still have, and you have all that tradition. The media keeps going to them. Since the 60s, the Steelers have been involved with the NFL, with sports in general. So it doesn't matter if you even say, oh, well, the Patriots. Guess what? Patriots have been here for 20 years. And guess what? They're on the decline now. I bet in 15 years, you probably won't know who the Patriots are.
If you want to look at it this way, though, can I drop a Cars bar real quick?
Sure.
The Patriots are kind of like Lightning McQueen. They came onto the scene and they won 7, or in their case, 6 Piston Cups. The Steelers, however, have that longevity like Strip Weathers. They've won 6 rings, very stretched apart from the 70s to the early 2000s. Patriots, if we're ranking 2000 and up, I would reverse my 1 and 2. I'd put the Patriots at 1 and the Steelers at 2. But if we're going all-time Super Bowl era, give me the Steelers 1 and the Patriots 2. Just because, like Joey Chirillo said, who were the Patriots before Bill Belichick got there and Tom Brady got there?
Now, Andruscik, I want to ask you, just give me a one-word answer here. Who's the franchise you have above the Steelers that's not named Green Bay?
All time?
Yes, all time.
Oh, I have a couple.
Okay, go ahead and give us your list of teams above the Steelers all time.
So I got the Packers number 1.
Okay.
Got the Bears number 2. Just because they're historically
Okay.
9 championships. I know. You guys are gonna say.
Okay, that's
You guys are talking about the Super Bowl. I'm talking all time.
There was 4
before
teams in the league.
1920. It's football.
Championships don't
keep it
matter,
like
though.
this.
They
Just
don't
keep it
matter
all.
now.
Yeah.
They don't matter.
How?
They don't matter. No. When have you go to a regular NFL fan, any of them, and say, when has a championship mattered?
All the time.
No, they don't anymore.
They
Those
traveled to Green
championships
Bay
from
every
the
other week
all-time
'cause there was no
before
teams.
the league currently,
Okay, then take away,
they don't matter.
Take away all the Yankees championships.
Okay, fine. I don't care about the
It's
Yankees.
a
Do
different
it.
argument.
That's the franchise.
That's a different argument, though. It is a different argument because the NFL pre-Super Bowl era to the Super Bowl era, it's almost like 2 completely different leagues.
The MLB's been
the
around
MLB
for a lot
has
longer.
has done their best. They haven't merged with any other league. They've brought other teams on, that most certainly, but they've just continued to go along. They've evolved a little bit. The NFL is almost like 2 completely different eras and 2 completely different leagues. There's no defined pre-Super Bowl and Super Bowl era type thing going on in the MLB. That would be my argument.
Let me ask you this, though. How about like in the 1950s, whenever you had the NFL championship, where you still had like 24, 26 teams in the league before all the expansion teams came in? What do you say about those championships?
Okay, did the Browns
They're
win one of
pre-Super
those?
Bowls.
Yeah.
How many
2.
of them? In that time? 2?
2.
Okay, great. Still not 6.
They're pre-Super Bowl.
Congratulations.
I'm just saying.
It's still not 6.
How you gonna? I'm not saying.
You could go ahead and
when did
count
I say
those.
The Browns are a better franchise.
No,
than
but
the
I'm
Steelers?
just
I didn't
saying
say
that you're. But I'm saying
say
that if
that.
you're going to count those championships, don't count 8, count the 2, and then guess what? Count the
actually-
6
I think
that
they're
are
4,
Super
actually.
Bowls that are bigger
Super
than
Bowls.
champion. Yeah, Super
Shout out
Bowls
Sebastian.
that are bigger than championships.
Well, I have a question
Everything
for you.
matters.
I have a question for you. You made a top 10 list I brought this up to you earlier off show. Where are the Denver Broncos?
Now, okay, here's the thing with the Broncos. They're a good team, and they are on here. If I had a top 15, I would probably put them at 11 or 12. But in my case with the Broncos, I don't really see anything other than like Elway and Manning. When Manning was here, it was cool, but Manning's more known as a Colt.
And Elway never won a Super Bowl.
And Elway never won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, he did. He won 2 the last year of his career.
Oh, he did?
This one's for John.
Interesting.
This one's for John.
I do
I'm
not
thinking
remember.
Dan
The
Marino.
last 2 years
I'm
of his
thinking Dan
career,
Marino.
he won his
Anyway,
That's my bad, everybody. I'm thinking Dan
Elway, he's
Marino.
there, and he has those two. But other than that, like, you don't really know the Broncos franchise. You know them a tad, but you don't know them like you know the Steelers or the Cowboys or the Niners or any other team like that. I'd say that I know the Browns a little bit more than I know the Broncos. And I think a lot of other NFL fans would agree with that. So I think that's why I don't put the Broncos at that top 10. I definitely think they'd be in my top 15.
Same argument for the Colts?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have one more question before we have to go. So I think also getting into best franchises, maybe most influential franchises, not just like, you know, product they put on the field. If you go out in public, I don't have an answer for this. What jersey, like what team's jersey do you think is maybe the most influential ever?
That's a good question.
Like influential in society. I mean, the Steelers. I think
I'd say
they're big, but like
Cowboys.
Cowboys. I was gonna
I
say.
think the
yeah.
Cowboys, just because they're so different in the way they wear their jerseys and the different ways they do it. I think I'd say the Cowboys won. And also you have to look at it as there's a lot of other factors to the Cowboys that bring in their market view and how you view them. So I'd say the Cowboys.
I think there's an easy answer here that I'm going to take. It's going to depend on where you are. You're anywhere in Pennsylvania, even if maybe, except for Philadelphia, you're seeing Steelers jerseys a lot of the time. You're in Texas, even if you're in Houston, you're seeing Dallas Cowboys jerseys all the time. Anywhere in California, you're seeing 49ers jerseys. I think it depends on the geographic area to that question, Luke, but I like you bringing that one up.
There was a point in time, though, where every 9 through 12-year-old kid was running around wearing a Seattle Seahawks jersey. They influenced a lot of people. Same with Odell a couple years later. There was a point in time where every young kid was running around wearing an OBJ jersey.
Yeah, I will say personally, I do have a jersey of former Seahawks quarterback, current Bronco quarterback, Mr. Unlimited.
You gotta be
himself
unlimited.
and Russell Wilson. I'm going to wrap this up saying, if you guys hadn't picked up on it already, I'd say the Steelers, for more reasons than just winning, but like Luke Andruscik said, the influence they had on the game of football, the changing of how teams scout players in the draft, and the Rooney Rule, changing completely how teams interview coaches and the hiring process. They had more than just a winning impact. They had an impact on how teams try to win. Back in the 70s and 80s, they completely changed the game, and I think that adds to the reason why I think the Steelers sit at the top. But that's going to do it for this week's episode of Plead Your Case. Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned on all of our social media platforms for more content, including the last episode of the semester for Plead Your Case. Next week, I'm Michael McKenzie for my freshman panel of Brett Gombita, Joey Chirillo, and Luke Andruscik. Thanks for tuning in.